Good morning, dear students. Now we are continuing with the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and in that we have studied about the replication, the semi-conservative replication of DNA, and there is a proof based on the DNA replication that is semi-conservative by the scientists Messelson and Stoll that we were already studied. And today we are moving on to the machinery and the enzymes of DNA replication. There is a particular machinery and certain enzymes which facilitate the semi-conservative replication of DNA. And as we know that all those genetic processes are based on certain catalysts or certain enzymes, isn't it? So that kind of things that we are going to discuss today. So the machinery and enzymes. Enzymes in semi-conservative replication of DNA. In most of the organism, especially in the case of E. coli, it requires a catalyst for carrying out the replication of DNA. So, in most of the cases, DNA polymerase is the catalyst. DNA polymerase enzyme. DNA polymerase enzyme is the catalyst that will carry out the reaction during the DNA replication. So, in the semi-conservative replication, the polymerization of deoxyribonucleotides occur. The polymerization, process termed polymerization of deoxynucleotides will occur during this semi-conservative replication. So, during this process of polymerization, large number of nucleotides were produced or added by this DNA polymerase enzyme. So, it is very efficient enzyme or catalyst for this reaction. There is a value given based on the polymerization reaction by the enzyme in E. coli, which means E. coli has only 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 base pairs that completes the process of replication within 38 minutes. And that means the average rate of polymerization has to be approximately 2000 base pair per second. That is a average value of replication in E. coli, which is catalyzed by the enzyme DNA polymerase. Not only this DNA polymerase will increase the it fastens the rate of replication, it also helps to increase the accuracy of the reaction also. It increases the accuracy and the speed of replication. Since the process of polymerization is an energy expensive reaction, that means it requires high energy. So the deoxyribonucleoside triphosphate will act as both as substrate for the reaction and also it will provide energy for the reaction. Along with this DNA polymerase enzyme, there are lots of other enzymes too for completing the process of polymerization reaction or the DNA replication, semi-conservative replication mechanism. So, in order to increase the accuracy and speed of this reaction, there are lots of other enzymes and catalysts are also there. Okay. Sometimes the DNA molecule is very large, so it is not easy to split the DNA very fastly. So, there is a small opening in which the replication takes place, that is called as replication fork. Replication fork. Just the small opening where the replication initiates. So the enzyme DNA dependent DNA polymerase, it is also said to be DNA dependent DNA polymerase enzyme. It will catalyzes the reaction only in one direction, that is 5' to 3' direction. 5' to 3'. 5 prime to 3 prime direction, the DNA dependent DNA polymerase will catalyzes the reaction. So there is a higher order of complication, so that in the replication fork, the template strand having 3 prime to 5 prime polarity will have the continuous replication, and for the template strand having 5 prime to 3 prime polarity will show discontinuous form of replication. Discontinuous. Okay, so the DNA polymerase enzyme is very much specific and accurate in carrying out the reaction in only 5 prime to 3 prime direction. So in that case there occurs a complication, so that the template having the polarity 3 prime to 5 prime direction will be continuous replicating, and the template strand having the 5 prime to 3 prime end polarity will be having a discontinuous form of replication. And the discontinuously synthesized strands are fragments of DNA strand. So these fragments are joined by using the enzyme DNA ligases that we are already studied. Ligases or DNA ligase. So the discontinuously produced strands, fragments of DNA can be joined by using the enzyme DNA ligases. And there is a term called origin of replication. That means we were already studied in our previous chapter of biotechnology. The replication initiates in a particular region that is called as the origin of replication or ORI. So the DNA polymerase enzyme itself cannot initiate, or it itself cannot start the replication process. So there requires a specific site where the replication starts or initiate. That region, that specific sequence is called as origin of replication. So that in the previous chapter biotechnology, we were studied that the origin of replication is very much important for the process of replication, so that it is to be incorporated by using a vector, isn't it? So a vector is used to incorporate such sequence of small fragments of DNA having the origin of replication, which is provided by the vector. Okay. You just recollect your previous knowledge, so we can understand the connection between the origin of replication and the importance of vectors to be incorporated into the host for initiating the replication. In eukaryotes, the replication will occur during the particular phase of the life cycle, that is the S phase of the life cycle. And the replication and the cell cycles are highly in coordinated manner. Both these processes will occur coordinately. The failure in cell division after DNA replication will lead to certain defects called polyploidy condition, like that. So that's all about the process of replication. Now you can see the image of a replication fork during the semi-conservative replication of DNA.
This is the picture of a replication fork, and it begins at the origins of replication, and two strands are open forming the replication fork, which is a Y-shaped region, and the new strands will grow at the forks. Both continuous synthesis and discontinuous synthesis will occur.
Next, we are moving on to one of the most important process in genetics, that is transcription. We were already familiarized with this term transcription in our previous chapters. In brief, we can say the transcription as the process of synthesis of mRNA from DNA. So that is the process transcription. We are going to discuss the transcription process in more detail. Okay, transcription. Before going to study about transcription, I remember you one thing, that this chapter, this molecular basis of inheritance, and the previous chapter before this, that means the principles of inheritance and variation, all these are very important for your examination and also for your future studies. More number of questions will arise from these chapters. So you must read the chapters well, and try to watch the videos, the animated videos from this chapter, from these chapters, including the processes like transcription, translation, semi-conservative replications and all. So it will be more clear to you, and also helps you to understand more about this concept. Okay, so don't forget to read the textbook well, and also try to keep on studying all these portions. Okay, so next we are moving on to transcription. The process of transfer of genetic information from one strand of DNA into RNA is called as transcription. That is the definition for transcription. The process of transfer of genetic information from one strand of DNA to RNA. That is the process of transcription. And the basic rule of complementarity is also expressed here, but there is a small change, that the adenosine is pairing with the uracil instead of thymine. Adenosine is paired with the uracil, not with the thymine. So that is the major difference here. The adenosine is pairing with the uracil instead of thymine. It is quite different from replication in the way that in replication the total DNA is duplicated in replication, but in this case only a single strand of DNA is get copied into mRNA or RNA. Okay, that is the major difference. In transcription there is a single strand of DNA is copied the genetic information into the mRNA. So there is a question will arise, that why both the strands of DNA will not code for RNA? Because the first reason is that when the two strands of DNA will act as a template for RNA synthesis, it will produce different complementary strands. So the complementarity does not means that the similar type of strands. If two strands of a DNA is act as a template, it will code for the RNA molecule different in its sequence, and it will produces the subsequent amino acids in the proteins also. So the amino acids in the sequence of proteins will be also different in that condition. That's why a single strand of DNA is getting converted, or it is copied the genetic information into the RNA. And the second reason is that if the two strands of DNA act as a template strand for RNA synthesis, it will produce the double-stranded RNA, isn't it? The double-stranded RNA is formed, and it prevents the formation of proteins from this RNA strands. Okay, it only serves as a double-stranded RNA. These are the two reasons why only single strand of DNA is getting converted to RNA. Okay. And next we are going to study about the structure of a transcription unit. How the transcription occur in a transcription unit molecule. Unit. So the transcription unit in a DNA molecule will have three regions. There are three regions. First one is promoter, the second one is structural gene, and the third one is terminator. Promoter, then Then second one is structural gene. These are the regions in a DNA sequence for the transcription. Structural gene. And the last one is terminator. These are the three regions. For the structural gene of a transcription unit, there is two strands that we already know. There is a two strand for each structural gene of the transcription unit. And among these two strands, only one will act as the template strand. And the DNA polymerase enzyme, the DNA dependent DNA polymerase enzyme will catalyzes the polymerization only in one direction. That means the 5' to 3' direction, the DNA polymerase will catalyze the polymerization. So the strand that have the polarity 3' to 5' direction will act as the template for the transcription. I repeat, the DNA polymerase enzyme will catalyzes the reaction only in 5' to 3' direction, so that the template strand will be having the polarity just opposite to the other one, that is the 3', 5' polarity having template strand is there for the transcription, and the template strand and the strand having 5' to 3' polarity same as that of RNA will be displaced during the polymerization. And this displaced strand during the transcription is termed as coding strand. Coding strand. Okay. So a template strand and a coding strand will be there for transcription. What is template strand? The strand that have the polarity 3' to 5' direction will act as the template strand, and the strand that have the opposite polarity, that means 5' to 3' direction, which is same as that of RNA, will be displaced during the transcription process, and this particular strand is termed as coding strand. So there are two strands, a template strand and a coding strand will be there in a transcription unit. So there is given a template strand and coding strand for your reference. Just have a look into that.
The template strand is the strand from which the RNA is actually transcribed. It is also termed as antisense strand. The template strand will be having the polarity 3' to 5' direction. The coding strand is a strand whose base sequence specifies the amino acid sequence of the encoded protein. Therefore, it is also called as sense strand. The coding strand will be having the polarity just opposite to the template strand, which is 5' to 3' direction, same as the RNA.
And you can see the picture of structural gene here.
The promoter and terminator are the parts of the structural gene in a transcription unit. The promoter is located towards 5' end, that means the upstream of the structural gene. It is a DNA sequence that provides binding site for RNA polymerase, and it is the presence of a promoter in a transcription unit that also defines the template and coding strands. The terminator is located towards the 3' end, that means the downstream of the coding strand, and it usually defines the end of the process of transcription. There are additional regulatory sequences that may be present further upstream or downstream to the promoter.
So in a transcription unit, the promoter and the terminator will flank the structural gene. The promoter will be seen at the beginning, that means the 5' end of the structural gene there is promoter, and at the 3' end there is terminator at the end, and the structural gene will have the binding site for the RNA. So this is about the structural gene of a transcription unit, and next we are moving on to transcription unit and the gene. Transcription unit and the gene. As we know that gene is termed as the functional unit of inheritance, and it is located in DNA.
A cistron is an alternative term for gene, and it is a section of DNA or RNA molecule that codes for a specific polypeptide in protein synthesis.
And the structural gene in a transcription unit may be said to be monocistronic or polycistronic. Monocistronic or polycistronic. So what is a cistron? The segment of DNA coding for a polypeptide is termed as a cistron. So based on that, the structural gene in a transcription unit, either it may be the monocistronic one or it may be the polycistronic one. Monocistronic in mostly in all eukaryotes, and the polycistronic in bacteria and other prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, the monocistronic units have the structural genes will have the interrupted sequences. Coding sequence or the expressed sequence in this case are called as exons. Exons. The coding sequence are called as exons. Exons will not appear in a matured or an expressed a processed RNA. A coding sequence will not be there. That is, an exon will not be there for a mature or processed RNA, and these exons are interrupted by introns. Introns are also is not there in matured and processed RNA. So the coding sequences will not be there for a matured and processed DNA, and sometimes the exons may be interrupted by the introns. It is also not present in a matured and processed RNA.
Introns and exons are nucleotide sequences within a gene. Introns are removed by RNA splicing as RNA matures, meaning that they are not expressed in the final messenger RNA product, while exons go on to be covalently bonded to the one another in order to create mature mRNA. Here you can see exons and introns in pre-mRNA and mature mRNA.
The inheritance of character is also affected by promoter and regulator sequence of a structural gene. Why overall all these processes are mainly for the conversion of the DNA, that means the copying of the genetic information from the DNA to the RNA, and from this RNA the proteins are translated. That process is called as translation. So this is all about today's class. I hope all of you understood this topic. This is very little confusing, and you must read the portions very well and watch the videos regarding the transcription and the structure of the structural gene in a transcription unit and all. So if you find any difficulty, you can ask me, and that's all for today. Thank you.